What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free. To live your best life, you must live label free. And I'm back with another incredible guest. I'm super excited about this topic, so tune in. Don't leave us. Can't wait to hear what we have to share. My next guest is founder of Powerhouses with Purpose and a values integration expert. Please welcome Sam Jump. Sam, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Deanna. Happy to be here.
So, there's a lot to unpack here. First, I want to get into the values integration expert because that was something that really set a light bulb off when I saw that in your bio. And I'm like, oh, that's very interesting. I've talked to a lot of people. We're talking 700 plus at this point, and there's rarely something I come across that I've never seen before. And that was one of them. So
Yeah.
can you kind of share with the audience what that means and the value behind it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I realize in looking back that one of the biggest shifts and the catalysts in my life was whenever I really started to put focus toward understanding what my value system is. And that really meant, learning to challenge everything that I had learned in the first 24 years of my life at that point. So
Yeah.
whenever I started to realize that, wait a minute, whose life am I actually living and why?
Yeah.
What are the conditionings that or the beliefs system. And so when I started digging into that, I started to realize that I don't align with the values that my actions, that my thoughts, that my emotions even are subconsciously putting out into the world. And so once I started to acknowledge that and call it for what it was, this lack of congruence, right?
Yeah.
I was able to start realizing that, okay, wait, then I have to totally rewrite this script. It meant taking inventory. It meant, what do I believe based on what I was fed growing up to where I am now? And what do I want to take forward with me, versus what do I want to leave behind and acknowledge that it's not mine and I'm not going to continue carrying that.
Yeah.
So therein lies the biggest catalyst for my shift toward this work. So in the last 15 years, it has been regularly taking stock of what values I'm living by and making sure that those are enacted intentionally throughout my
Mm.
relationships, throughout, anything that I'm saying yes to, throughout the habits that I'm cultivating or the habits that I'm letting die. Life has been so much more fulfilling and so much less crippling, really,
Yeah.
since I have admitted that I need a guiding light to help me navigate the craziness that is the human experience.
Mm.
And so, with understanding the power and the value of values, I've learned that it's part of my purpose in being guided through everything that I didn't want to get me to a place of understanding that I have the power to create a life that I want, and how values really creates, an ever evolving, of course,
Yeah.
roadmap of how to get from where I am to who I want to be. And
Mm.
so I've helped so many people in general, but especially women with all the extra layers of programming and conditioning that we have stacked up
Labels.
at us. Absolutely. Labels, expectations, the stay in your lanes that come in so many different forms. And so to really help women who are committed to living life outside of the box of the norms that have
Mm.
been prescribed to them, and giving them this clear compass that is rooted within their spirit, within their gut, within their heart, and helping them realize the superpowers that those reflect. And so they can go and live a life that is not only the life of their dreams, really, but lead others in a way that creates a ripple effect that's, beyond what they would have anticipated before.
There's a lot to unpack there. And so I think one thing that I want to point out that I heard was that our values are ever evolving, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that we are programmed, trained, labeled, whatever, to believe that the values that we were born with or that were indoctrinated on us at an early age are what we have to keep with us moving forward. And that's not necessarily the case because we do evolve as people. We do have like our critical thought if we choose to, right? There are so many things that could create different value systems within us if we see our lives going in a different path than how we were raised. And
Right.
so, what I love about what you said is that I think a lot of people don't think that that's an option.
Mm. I have learned in many big ways endlessly that this is how I am, or this is how I am always going to be, is one of the most limiting phrases for the human spirit that I could ever imagine. And, it is a thought that I'm so thankful that I've seen so much practiced again in my original tribe, my family, and what has kept them feeling stuck and what has led to one chronic disease after another in that limiting mindset
Yeah.
of
Yes.
this is just how I am and this is how it's going to be and this is how life is, and we don't challenge it. We just, you know,
Yeah.
we it's for lack of a better term, we just struggle through it.
Yeah.
And there's just always been something in me. I remember from so early on that this struggle is not the only way. There's no way this can be the only way. And so I started challenging that so early on in my life, and of course, got so much backlash from
Sure.
that. And so, absolutely. And so, and that whole idea of rejection, that whole idea of lack of acceptance, so much came with that challenging of the norm that was within that initial tribe. And
Yeah.
so I had to learn to navigate those things. And, that's hard when it's such an isolating place in our lives in general. And
Yeah.
then the tribe that, we're taught to trust and to lean on, when that's not there, when you don't feel that,
It's
it,
hard.
yeah, it really, I learned self-leadership at such an early point in my life. And so, to follow my intuition toward different mentors that could help light the way for me, ended up being my way because I didn't have that around me initially. And the gift that it was, it really helped me understand again what I did and didn't want to cultivate for myself.
Yeah.
But challenging that whole narrative of this is how I am is what's led me to this place of, living a very full life and an abundant life, and one that I can be grateful for every day. And, there is no struggling through life. Like, I understand the power of choice and of perspective. And, it's made the world a difference. And I feel like it's been a gift to embody what's possible when we choose to take ownership of our lives.
Yeah. So when we think of creating our own value system and stepping away from the norm or what we've been raised to believe or think, just because your value system evolves does not mean that you're a bad person or less than.
Right.
And I'm assuming when you work with your clients or people that come to you that kind of want to change this perspective, that has to be something that they struggle with because it's almost
Absolutely.
like an identity.
Right.
I call it labels, but it's almost
Yeah.
like an identity that they have to create new and understand that it's okay to have this new identity. And even that identity really doesn't define you though. Like,
Right.
yeah, this value system doesn't define you, make you less than or worse than or anything. It's just something that where you're finding yourself more in alignment with.
Absolutely. And understanding that at the root of it, it's all impermanent, right? So it's more a focus of like, who am I now and who am I aiming to grow toward being?
Yeah.
And really, and it is like, again, when I started, because along with understanding our values, along with implementing our values comes boundary work. It comes, you know, taking stock
Ooh,
of
boundaries.
oh yeah. And then that's a whole topic in itself.
Yeah.
And like the depth that we could go around what boundaries are and how much they mean to different people and in different ways. And but I think that in my personal experience anyway, whenever I and in waves throughout my life, whenever I go to initiate boundaries that reflect who I'm stepping into at various seasons in my life, it has to include taking stock of the people that I'm investing my time in, the projects that I'm investing my
Yeah.
time in. It is a full life inventory to make sure that I'm acting in integrity with who I know I want to be.
Yeah.
Because we can't become who we want to be by being who we've been to this point. Like, that's not how we grow.
Yeah.
That's, celebrate what that was that got us here. But, within that is helping other people, and especially women again. Like, if you're in a family who your family has become very kind of complacent in who you show up as. Or
Yeah.
how many movies and TV shows do we see women put in these roles that whenever they decide that they're not going to have dinner on the table at 5 p.m., that there's an uproar?
Yeah.
Or, that is a first sign of a woman rebelling, is that they're not going to be doing the dishes after dinner anymore. Like things like that that really are reflective of, realizing that our boundaries and our values have been pushed to a point where I need to make some changes for my well-being.
Yeah.
And a lot of people haven't necessarily been taught that kind of communication, how to relay what's going on within so that others have the opportunity to shift. But, it's definitely understandable why there might be struggle or resistance when someone has an expectation for how you have always shown up and all of a sudden that changes. How to relay that in a way that, and not all, unfortunately, not always are the people that you currently have in your life when you're making those decisions for your betterment, not always are they going to stay.
Nope, they
And
certainly don't.
right. Yeah. And
I
I
can
think
speak from experience.
right. Yeah. And from experience, I'm sure that you're able to also then speak into the trust that you've accumulated that other people will step in to fill those
Yeah.
spaces for
Yeah.
those that leave.
Yeah.
And so, everyone has a choice, and that's also a choice in whether those around us stay when we're making decisions that are for our greatest good.
Yeah. So I kind of want to go back to you said mention something about abundance. I feel like when we're out of alignment with our value system, with ourselves, with our purpose, that's a block to the ultimate abundance that can come our way, right? I've learned that myself, and there I have like I can always tell when I'm flowing with life, right?
Mhm.
Versus resisting. Because
Mhm.
when I'm flowing and I'm in alignment and everything is like I'm where I'm supposed to be, that abundance flows in.
Mhm.
When I come up against something where I'm like maybe questioning something or doing something that's against like what I would typically do, like then I start feeling like that resistance where those floodgates kind of start closing a little bit. And
Right.
then I have to kind of check myself a little bit, like, okay, what's happening here? Let me like reassess, like how did I fall out of alignment or out of that my value system that is creating this upset.
Right. Yeah, and I think the word that you used was, resistance.
Mm,
And, I think that resistance isn't, it's rarely a bad thing if it's something that you can use to strengthen or grow more resilient. But I think a lot of times resistance too can definitely block the channel that we have the ability to show up as, where,
yeah,
like you said, when life is flowing through you and when things seem to come, life seems to be a little bit more effortless, like you are in flow. And being in the human existence, it's impossible to have that happening constantly.
yeah,
Like we're going to be shaken, the waves are going to come, and the whole point is to make sure that we don't get carried under when they do, right? And so I
yeah,
think the resistance can help us stay strong and not getting taken under, but I think it can also help direct us toward those things that aren't for us.
yeah,
And so I think, therein lies the importance of connecting with our inner selves so that we can know what the difference is in those opportunities. Like, is this something that's trying to lead me in the other direction? Or is this something that I'm intended to grow a little bit stronger through, integrate it, and move on?
mm. Grow a little bit stronger through. I'm sure that's not the popular opinion.
Right. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's, from those that want to be high performers and not be shaken to the core whenever life, naturally just comes at us with something unexpected. Like that's a guarantee. Like life is going to come at you with the unexpected things, and it's all about how do you rise up in those occasions?
Yeah, for
How do you
sure.
use it?
My gosh, I feel like we could talk about this like it could be one episode all in itself about you being a values integration expert. There's so much there to unpack and kind of help guide people. But I want to kind of highlight because we're starting to get a little closer on time. You're the founder of Powerhouses with Purpose.
Mhm.
What is that, and why did you start it?
Yeah, so I was guided toward powerhouses with purpose, just personally being someone who has been labeled a powerhouse for my entire working life. Like I started working when I was 14, and I've always been the girl who is going to get things done.
Yep.
who catches on quickly, gets it done, also helps other people understand how to do it as efficiently as possible and as clearly, like so that they can take ownership of the process too.
Yeah.
That's literally always been me. And, I think that part of that is, my mom's work ethic that I was raised around, but I think it was also a thing of like carving my own way
Yeah.
throughout. And so, then from there also having, the want to serve, but because of what values or lack of values that I had along the way, I was meeting those cycles of, teaming up with people who didn't necessarily know how to support the person I was becoming.
Mm.
So whenever they're like, oh, service minded, service
Yeah.
hearted, it's like a take, take, take kind of thing when they realize that I'm just going to give, give, give.
Yeah.
And then whenever you have people that create an expectation around that, I think that further feeds the programming that we have working, against us as women, and
Yep.
especially as women in business, that we're just going to be the ones to handle it, and and that's just how it is. And I think that over the last, especially the last 6 years, I've been less and less open to just dealing with whatever is dished out, and the cycles of burnout leading to a place of like physical burnout repeatedly over the last 15 to 20 years, it would often take my internal body relaying that, the lack of energy that it had left in a physical way in order to slow me down enough to take that inventory that I knew I needed.
Yeah.
And so all of those steps really helped lead me to, okay, if I want to feed my vision and I want to feed my purpose and I want to more directly impact the other women who are so used to just showing up and not questioning it whenever they're feeling that their energy levels are maxed out,
Yeah.
or if, work is tossed into their inbox that they're that they're just gonna, they're gonna tackle it and just, stay later or take it home or work
Yep.
over the weekend, and that it's, that you have to do this as a way to prove your value or prove your worth and
Yep.
contribution. And so I know that again, my journey of experiencing that so many ways and through so many different organizations has really helped me to create this container that is to help other women who are leaning into their bigger visions and really want to shift their discipline and commitment and focus to their values alignment, to shifting their mindsets and their perspectives, and really creating an identity that they can stand strong in so that it's impenetrable whenever you have others that are, coming at you with that same outdated programming of expectations, that you're just going to deal with it and not question it. And we can't change the game and we can't create more work cultures that are focused in well-being if we just keep dealing with the status quo of relationships in our
Hmm.
work environments.
Do you think that women will ever break out of that burnout cycle?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I personally am very in touch with myself. And I think it
Mhm.
takes someone, men and women, I think it takes people that desire to really connect with what's going on internally in
Mhm.
order to know when they have to put the brakes on. So for me, like you can call me a pampered princess, a diva, whatever. When I
Mhm.
start feeling a certain way, like
Mhm.
I pump the brakes. I'm like, okay.
Yes.
And like
That's
if I'm what that email can be answered tomorrow
right.
or the
Right.
next day. Like it doesn't have to be answered right this minute. The world's not going to come crashing down. Nothing's going to start on fire. No one's going to die. As much as like I'm a total type A, so it's taken a long time for me to get here, but I
Mhm.
also value my life and my health and my sanity,
Right.
you
Yeah,
know?
and I think it's like literally anything else, that it has to start in our individual life in order to create the ripple that is going to shift a culture. We
Yeah.
cannot expect a cultural shift if we're not willing to do the individual work. And I think that absolutely is reflected in burnout culture. And,
Yeah.
I feel like it's, easily one of those, chalk it up to an overused term. But I think until we really start to break apart how deep hitting that goes, like down to our nervous systems, that's impacting the way that we're wired and the way that we interact with our lives, with our families. It goes so much more beyond how we show up at work and in our
Yeah.
businesses. And so, unless we're committing our focus to unlearning what doesn't serve us, unlearning what doesn't serve the cultures that we know are possible, then we can't create those that we trust are there to be made and the impact that we came here to make toward them.
Yeah. What can someone so someone's a lady woman's listening to this and she's like needing to realign herself. What could she get and how would it benefit her working with you?
Yeah, so and through the work with me, and whether that's, through one-on-one identity work and mindset development, perspective shifting, or that's, doing it with your team. I think that we have even
Mm,
greater impact to shift our work cultures when we're doing it together.
yeah,
So, that's definitely a preference, but for the women who might feel like they need that more isolated one-on-one space, I have a container for that by way of a premium group program, but then also with the one-on-one option for those deep dives.
yeah,
And so to really address and, dig into where we're feeling stuck, where we're feeling that resistance to help us understand, is this resistance something that is trying to strengthen me, or is this guiding me in a different direction? And
yeah,
really working through that one-on-one from a place of accountability, from a place of nervous system regulation, from a place of connecting with your internal guidance to help you, get access to the answers that are really trying to come through you in various forms. And so just really trying to get to a place of quieting the noise
mm,
so that you can trust your internal guidance. And then from there, create that value system that you can lead the way, in how you relate with your family, your friends, your work environment. It's all encompassing the impact that that makes. But if we're not addressing the mindsets that are subconsciously running our lives, then we're on autopilot. We have no real control or power in our lives.
yeah. Do people have a hard time identifying what their true value system is when they come to work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that more often than not, people have a hard time naming one value that they prioritize, let alone four.
Yeah,
And, when we're creating a foundation, there's such power in that number four. So to get really clear on, the primary four values that are guiding your life, not only does that cut down on decision fatigue, even like
yeah,
whenever you're making decisions in life, like does it align with one of these four values? And if not, don't waste your time right now.
yeah,
Like, if you're really focusing on guiding your life with the power of these four values that resonate with you so deeply, it really helps to make it more easy, efficient, productive,
yeah.
in what you're saying yes to in your lives. But yeah, the idea of not having clarity in the values that you're running with. I mean, for a lot of people, it's easier to run on autopilot, right? As uncomfortable as it might be, for a lot of people, it's just easier to run on autopilot. But that's not who Powerhouses with Purpose is here to serve.
No. And I think like I said before we start recording that when you're on autopilot, you're so disconnected. You
Yeah.
become so I can speak from experience. You're just so numb on the inside. You're like a shell of a human being. And so what is it going to take to get back to that place where you feel fulfilled, where you're actually feeling something and you are and I use alignment a lot because alignment is a really big thing. If we're out of alignment, like everything around us can just be just chaos.
Yeah. And that can mean so many things, right?
Yeah,
Like alignment with what?
right.
And so getting really clear on what you are wanting or moving toward being in alignment with is so much easier to be done when you
Mm,
have some kind of guiding light or lights that are guiding you from whatever darkness you feel
yeah.
like you're navigating at that time.
And how long does someone work with you usually?
I mean, it depends on where they are in their discipline, really. If they're someone who has a really strong habit already, or ritual or routine around writing, around like understanding what the narratives are that are going on in their mind so that they can have more autonomy in choosing the direction that they're going to go with the work that we're bringing to the surface.
Mm,
I mean, it's nothing to have a change within 1 to 2 days whenever we're slowing down enough to like really get into that identity work where we're
yeah.
creating the new version of ourselves. So like with the Powerhouse Rewire course, that's a 6-week program. And for people who are used to doing the deep work, they know how much can be done in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Where all of a sudden, the thing that you're taking on as a new habit or a new practice, within 6 weeks, it's literally a part of your being.
Yeah.
And so it's all around that focus and that commitment and that discipline. And I think those are integral parts of a true powerhouse is we know we want change. We're going to do the work to get really clear on the change that we want to invoke, and we're going to make it happen. And
Yeah.
so doing that with other women or doing that with the team that you're overseeing, I mean, the impact that's there is incomparable.
Yeah. I love that. Sam, where can people find you, connect with you, and learn more of working with you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. So Sam Jump, I think maybe Samantha Jump on there. Powerhouses with purpose.com. I can be reached at Sam Jump at powerhouseswithpurpose.com. And then we have some, free goodies and information we can share in show notes for anybody who wants to dig a little deeper and understand some of the archetypal mindset traps that people get stuck in to just start getting a little more curious about
Ooh.
what's guiding you.
Yikes, that could have been a whole nother conversation. You said that earlier. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, we'll just have to have you back. Yeah, like Sam said, you guys, we're going to put those links in the show notes. So if you connect with her, want to learn more, do not hesitate to reach out. Go connect with her on LinkedIn. I'm sure she would just love to even start a conversation and take advantage of the free goodies that she has because we could all use a little help in one way or the other. Take advantage. Why not? Sam, this is the part of the show where I like to ask for last words of wisdom or advice. What would you like to leave with us today?
I think that I think it's important that when we're trying to be premium leaders in any kind of paradigm shifting change and work at home, I think that it's important to realize that you don't have to wait until you feel ready. That when you start taking action and you set intention for who you want to be, everything is going to conspire to make that happen with you. So
Yeah.
don't feel like you have to wait until you feel ready. Just take action.
I agree. I'm a big person about taking action. Like, I'll say yes now, worry about it later.
Yeah, you'll find the way. The way will appear.
Yes, but usually I have never regretted saying yes. You know what I mean? It usually always leads to one good place or another. So, just taking action is very important because I know a lot of people get stuck. But
Right.
Sam, lots of stuff, a lot of great value you brought today. I feel like the values integration expert alone, you could probably turn that into a TEDx talk, to be honest. Seriously, I could see you on a stage talking about that just because of how powerful it is and how important it is in today's world right now, where I feel like people are so lost and disconnected and like not really sure where their value system lies because of all the stuff coming at us, and social media doesn't help.
So much
Yeah,
noise.
yeah, so much noise, exactly. So I thank you so much, and we'll have to have you back and talk a little bit more because there's more that we could have gone down the bunny hole. But thank you so much for being an incredible guest today. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, happy to be here. I'll see you again.
Yes. You guys, this is your host, Deanna Radulescu, label free. To live your best life, you must live label free. As always, don't forget to subscribe, follow, rate, review, comment, share, all those good things. And I'll be back.